bringing artificial intelligence to the shop floor. Our speakers are available online for questions. If you would like to ask one, please type it into your dashboard and they will answer you via chat. Please welcome to your screen Abhinav Singhal, Chief Strategist and Innovation Officer for Kasencrop.
My name is Abhinav. I head Strategy and Innovation for ThyssenKrupp for Asia Pacific. I'm glad to be here joining you virtually to share our learnings on how to bring AI to the shop floor. For those of you who are not familiar with ThyssenKrupp is a 200-year-old global engineering conglomerate. We make steel, materials, and variety of industrial machine and components for downstream sectors, including cement, mining, chemical, automobile, and variety of other sectors. So let me share with you our learnings on AI and how can we collectively bring AI to the shop floor. The first message I want to share with you today is that AI has a huge potential in manufacturing. If you look at a typical chemical plant and you look at the whole value chain all the way from inbound logistics to customer service, we estimated that more than 500 terabytes of data gets generated in a year. And that's because if you think about the activities which happen in manufacturing, all the way from inbound logistics, for example, storing data about the kinds of raw materials, supplier information, the quality and the batch size of a typical raw material, moving towards R&D, doing sampling on these materials, doing varieties of measurements, capturing different papers, patents, and relevant information about them, to production, looking at more than 5,000 pieces of equipments in a plant, doing variety of measurements per plant, and capturing all the way up to 100 data points every 10 seconds, including pressure, temperature, flow rate, about the process condition. And then if you think about distribution and sales, variety of stock keeping units, again capturing data points about how is the batch size expected to deliver, what is the nearest distribution point, what was the last stocking order quantity, what is the shipment logistics data, and finally the different touch points with customers. So if you look at all these myriad of activities which happen in manufacturing and put a number to it, you're talking about more than 500 terabytes of data getting generated. And imagine when you have so much data getting generated in a plant, the amount of potential it offers for artificial intelligence to optimize this data and optimize the system end to end across the value chain. So while this is example of chemical plant, this is true for any other manufacturing plant. There are a lot of processes which are generating data on a daily basis, and if it can find a meaningful way of capturing this data, then I can offer a huge potential in analyzing and optimizing it. And if you move beyond data, we've already seen a lot of interesting use cases and applications where companies have started benefiting from applying analytics and AI to manufacturing. So if I talk about inbound logistics, a very common application is route and network optimization. And various companies have seen benefits in reducing their supply chain cost, their logistics cost from using artificial intelligence. You can optimize a route for the best mileage, for the fastest delivery time, or any other goal or priority you might have. Then we have seen examples of automated warehouse and picking using autonomous robots to carry out activities in a much more safer and efficient way. Spend analytics and PSM. If you move on to R&D, using analytics for product design, having digital twins, having a better engineering and visualization software using AI, all these can help accelerate your innovation and R&D process. If you think about the production during the manufacturing stage, analytics can be used for better process control, yield enhancement, predictive maintenance, using digital twins for remote monitoring, energy efficiency. That again is a very common example where manufacturers have seen 10 to 15% of cost reduction in their energy consumption reduction by using advanced analytics and having the most optimum setting of a machine for energy consumption. Then if you look at support functions, AI can also be used, for example, using RPA to automate routine tasks like order processing, invoice reading, for having a better demand sensing across the downstream value chain, end-to-end inventory optimization, and finally, when it comes to customers, using AI as virtual assistants for customer service and creating a single source of truth regarding your customer needs to create more upselling and cross-selling opportunities. So these are just a few examples of the variety of use cases where AI has already started to deliver huge impact for manufacturers across the globe. And if you look at some numbers regarding the potential of AI across different functions, it is estimated by McKinsey that after marketing and sales, supply chain and manufacturing offers the highest potential for value creation from artificial intelligence. The third reason why AI has huge potential in manufacturing is also looking from an OEM perspective. So this chart shows you how the tech stack of a typical industrial solution is built up. So at the bottom of the stack, you see machine hardware providers. These are companies like us, ThyssenKrupp, which makes typical machinery and components which goes in a plant. On top of that, you see embedded softwares and sensors, which can be used to generate data points about the machines. Then you have a connectivity solution, and then you have typically a platform solution or cloud-based applications to do the analysis, to do the analytics, and then show it in a meaningful manner through a user interface. So if you look at the how market has been growing and how the profitability has been evolving over the last few years, we see typically that the core offering of machine hardware is getting more and more competitive. The growth rate is slow and the average EBIT margins are low. And these are represented by the red and the yellow boxes. But if you see the majority of the green boxes, they are concentrated actually at the analytics and the cloud storage space, because there you're seeing the highest growth in the market and the highest margins and profitability for manufacturers. So even as a machine manufacturer, even as a OEM, it is in our interest to actually utilize artificial intelligence solutions so that we can go up in the value stack, to go up in the tech stack, and have a higher share of margins and profitability as we think about serving our customers and growing our business. Now, I've given you a lot of interesting reasons and compelling reasons why AI has huge potential. But if you look at the adoption today, AI is not being adopted largely or strongly in manufacturing. So manufacturing is not leading AI adoption. And why do I say that? If you look at the industries which have led AI adoption historically, it's been financial services, high tech and telecommunications, transportation, even retail to some extent. Manufacturing has been a bit slower to AI adoption. And this is very typical of manufacturing. If you think about manufacturing industry, it's a very value conscious and efficiency focused industry. Manufacturing tends to adopt technology solutions which, when they are proven, because reliability, quality, productivity, these are the main criterias which manufacturing looks at when adopting a new solution. And AI has still been increasing its adoption, improving its reliability as more and more use cases get established, as it becomes more predictable, as it becomes more uh, let's say reliable for adoption. You will see a great influx of AI adoption even in manufacturing. The second reason for low adoption is the legacy IT and OT systems you see in manufacturing. So unlike a banking or a telecom sector where you have to read data from variety of different applications, in a manufacturing plant, you might have machines coming from a lot of different OEMs. Then you have different kinds of controller systems, PLC, SCADA systems to read that data, different options for doing networking and transmitting of data, and then a variety of options to do analysis of the data and create meaningful use cases out of it. So because of the complexity of IT and OT systems in a manufacturing plant, which don't forget are often located in remote locations with poor connectivity, with poor access to technology, adoption of AI has been a bit restricted. And last but not the least, the biggest, I would say, driver for adoption of manufacturing towards AI is also the frontline buy-in. When you think of AI in a manufacturing context, a typical reaction of frontline is this is about taking away our jobs. And unless you address that mindset and educate and reskill your frontline operators, how artificial intelligence can actually enrich their work and make them more productive and efficient, the adoption continues to get hindered by their propensity to use AI and these technology and tools less. So now let's look at few ways we can accelerate the adoption of AI in a manufacturing plant. The first recommendation or the learning we've had using AI with our customers is how do you adopt a modular approach to implement AI in your plants. This chart shows you a typical architecture of an artificial intelligence solution, or for that matter, any digitalization solution in a manufacturing plant. You start at the left extreme with a machine layer. This could be any machine depending on the industry you're operating in. Then you need to have a data collection layer, which could be via drones, via laboratory reports, via existing enterprise applications, control systems, MES softwares, sensors, and variety of other tools. Then you need to have a connectivity layer, which could include an edge device doing some processing at the machine itself, or working with communication networks and protocols to transmit that data to a central cloud, where you perform a variety of analytics depending on the specific use case. And finally, you have a user interface to show the results of the analytics and take meaningful action. In this complex setup of a digital solution or AI solution, there are a lot of degrees of freedom. So as I said before, you can have a lot of machines coming from different OEMs. You can have different ways of collecting the data, variety of ways of communicating the data, and then a variety of algorithms which you can use to analyze the data depending on the use case you're solving for. And hence we have seen with most manufacturers that they tend to solve for one or two of these pathways, picking up a specific machine, a specific data collection tool, and then trying to create a use case out of it, which works well for one plant. But when you think about scaling it up across all your manufacturing sites or across a variety of use cases, then we have seen manufacturers struggle. So our recommendation is almost creating a menu or portfolio of options where this acts as a template or a configurator for your AI solution, and then think about, depending on your plant condition, plant context, accessibility, network availability, what will be the right menu of tools to choose from to make my AI solution work. Ultimately, the configurator helps you give you an enterprise architecture, a menu, but depending on the specific conditions and context of the plant, you need to choose a pathway out of this to make it work. And hence thinking in a modular manner, almost like Lego building blocks, can accelerate the scale up of your AI initiatives as you think about rolling them up from one site to your other global sites. The second learning we have had on accelerating AI is thinking about predictive and prescriptive use cases. What do I mean by that? When you think of a typical AI solution, there are four kinds of questions you tend to answer. The first question is descriptive. What happened by looking at data? So this involves mostly looking at structured and unstructured data from a variety of sources, doing some statistical correlation analysis, and trying to create a transparency on what are the key metrics, what are the operating conditions, performance, and using some basic analysis to say, okay, what is going on in my plant and how it is operating. An example would be remote monitoring of operations of a manufacturing site. The second question is diagnostic. Why did something happen? So this goes a bit deeper. Here you try to look at the anomalies, the characteristic patterns, operating conditions, and try to do some sort of root cause analysis, clustering analysis to help minimize the downtime, identify the root cause, and increase the availability of the plant. So this could involve, for example, doing some sort of maintenance root cause analysis or live monitoring of parameters to find anomalies and try and predict when the next failure could occur. The third kind of question is what will happen, which is more predictive in nature. This involves creating dedicated predictive models for forecasting and preempting a typical failure. So this would involve learning algorithms using classification regression techniques, and this can help get you better quality, reduce your maintenance cost, and try and predict in advance how can you optimize for a certain set of conditions. The last use case or the question using AI is prescriptive. What do I do about that? And this focuses more on optimizing the function. So once you've understand what is the root cause behind something happening, you've also understood how do I predict the next failure when it occurs, then this gives you a freedom to optimize the system, where you use the prediction of the output to optimize the input parameter in an iterative loop, and you are able to create data-driven recommendations for creating the best operating conditions of the plant, for having the best strategy on simulating and recommending how to run the plant for maximum efficiency, maximum availability. And typically we have seen this has the highest impact on your EBIT and the highest impact on the productivity and throughput which you can get off the plant. So a lot of manufacturers, because of historic reasons, because of lack of awareness and availability, still focus on descriptive and diagnostic use cases, because that's something their analytics teams are comfortable and used to. But our experience has been that as you start moving to predictive and prescriptive use cases, that's where you see the maximum impact from AI. That's where you see the maximum impact, 10 to 20% cost reduction, 30 to 40% improvement in availability, and that really moves the needle. So as you think about looking at your AI use cases in a manufacturing setup, think about how can I utilize more from predictive and prescriptive examples rather than focusing on the pure play descriptive. They are good to start, but the real gold standard comes when you start optimizing for it. To give you an example, we looked at quality prediction for a chemical plant. So this involved looking at more than 400 process parameters, external conditions, looking at temperature, pressure, quality of input, raw materials, then using a large set of training data to train a neural network. And we were able to predict up to 10 quality parameters for our end product, including the chemistry, the mineralogy, the hydration, up to 94% of accuracy. So while this took us some time to train the neural network, to train the machine learning algorithm, but we were able to predict the end product quality to up to 94% accuracy when you compare it to a retrospective laboratory sample. And then this helped us gain the insight on how do I optimize my input data to get the right desired output on quality. And this eventually ended up creating up to 15% cost savings for our customer and increasing the availability of the process, because you're able to run the system at its most optimum efficiency, and you're able to get the best product quality for the right mix of input ingredients in that plant. So this is one example of using prescriptive analytics. Another example could be if you think about logistics route optimization. So typically when you think about your fleet, depending on whether you want to optimize for fuel consumption, whether you want to optimize for delivery lead times, you can select that optimization parameter. You can predict what will be the traffic flow, the congestion on different routes, and then accordingly direct your driver or your fleet to follow a typical path for that object function. So there are many examples where you can use predictive and prescriptive tools to optimize your operations, and that's where we have seen the biggest impact coming from AI. Last but not least, as we talked about, it's really important to address the mindset of AI and what it means for jobs for frontline operators. Here our learning is you need to invest in reskilling the frontline. I think the main message for our frontline operators is that AI will not replace humans, but rather humans who can work with AI will replace humans who cannot. And this is very important for operators to understand. If you think about the basic human intelligence, right, compared to any artificial intelligence, we will always be good at creativity, at emotional intelligence, understanding the context, being more adaptive. It will still take years for artificial intelligence to achieve an equal competency in these skills and traits. Compared to that, if you look at the artificial intelligence solution, it helps you process data volume in large amounts. It can help you get better speed of analysis. It can help improve the availability because you have 24/7 availability of a AI tool to run the process or plant. So ultimately, if you combine these two skill sets together, if you combine human intelligence with artificial intelligence, that's when you get the best bang for your buck. That's when you can get the best of human plus artificial intelligence to run the plant and run your operations at the most efficient manner. So it's really important to understand how do you bring human and artificial intelligence together and pass on that learning and message to the frontline operators that we are not here to take away the jobs, but rather equipping you with a set of tools which can help you make your jobs easier and make your operations more predictable, more reliable, and more safe. But to do that, you also need to invest in reskilling these operators. As we see some of these tasks, which are more mundane and repetitive, getting automated, you need to create opportunities for the operators to take other tasks so that they can continue finding meaning in their work. And that's when you can create a true change and transformation at scale in your operations. And we have seen examples of that. So a couple of years back, Elon Musk tried this with their Model 3 line for Tesla. They fully automated the assembly line for the car, and they had 1,000 plus robots. But in the end, they realized they're missing the production target, and they realized that excessive automation was a mistake for them because it worked well. Automation worked well when when it worked for painting and the primary tasks in the automotive assembly. But when it came to the final assembly, human operators were much better at spotting things which were out of line. For example, misalignment or a nut or bolt which was not rightly placed, and artificial intelligence was not able to spot these errors as accurately as human beings. So in the end, Tesla actually recruited 400 people and set up a revamped production line to turn their production performance around and achieve their targets. So 100% automation or over automation is also not the solution. And we have seen some examples, or we have started to seeing some examples of that. Ultimately, it's about humans working with AI and not AI replacing humans completely out of manufacturing. So to summarize, if I think about AI in manufacturing and shop floor today, these are the 5 messages I want you to remember. First, AI has huge potential in manufacturing, and we discuss because of the amount of data which gets generated in a manufacturing plant operation, because of the requirements of OEMs to actually move up the technology stack and use artificial intelligence for better service margins, for higher growth and revenue opportunities. And finally, because of all the use cases we have seen where AI is able to reduce cost, increase plant availability, and this is now quite proven and established across most of the plants. But having said that, manufacturing is not leading the AI adoption today, and unless you address the problems around IT, OT, legacy systems, looking at how do you create value and make the solution more reliable and proven for manufacturing players, and thinking about training the front line, the adoption continues to be low. And we discussed how do you solve for these challenges, thinking about a modular approach, almost like a Lego blocks, to define the AI architecture for your plant. Because ultimately, AI is just a tool to do analytics, but beyond that, you need to also generate the right data sets for AI to work upon. And this involves working with complex sets of IT OT systems in a plant and connecting them together to make the solution work. We talked about focusing on predictive and prescriptive use cases, which have the highest impact, because that's when you can really optimize the whole function, the whole manufacturing system. And depending on any variability in the input parameter, you're able to predict the right effect on the output parameter and then reinforce and optimize the inputs accordingly. And finally, we talked about working with frontline operators, giving them the confidence that the AI is not here to take away their jobs, but rather it is a tool which they can utilize to become more efficient and effective in their daily jobs. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions and carry on the discussion throughout this event. Thank you so much for your time, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions on this. Thank you.